Welcome to West Country Tech Time, and this is video number 2, loss of video cameras. As you can see behind me, these are all of our camera images from the office. All these cameras up here and the outdoor camera, they are all currently on and working. What can sometimes happen is either one or all of the camera images drop out for one reason or another. The most common reason that this can happen is that there's been a wireless link issue. Wireless link being this white unit, which is on the outside of the house. 99% of our jobs consist of the following. There's a house, and then there's a wireless link on the outside of the house, which will then connect to remote buildings, sheds, whatever it may be. Ultimately bringing all those cameras back to one wireless link, which is mounted on the outside of the house. What tends to happen is a cable gets dislodged, a power lead gets pulled locally, local to where the recorder is. What you may see if the cameras go off is on one of these boxes, it will say a network problem, camera cannot be found, ultimately a black image with white text on it, or normally if all the cameras are coming through a wireless link, you'll just see a black screen or with network issues on every single image. Now, what tends to happen is the wireless link is mounted on the outside of the house, and there's normally a black cable. In fact, it will always be a black cable run from this wireless link down the outside of the property or office, and then in local to where the recorder or normally where the router is located. What we say to people is to find that cable, chase it in, and it will come into the room through the wall or through a window, and that will be cabled into one of two scenarios. This is scenario number 1, where the black cable, which has now come in through the wall, will connect into one of these inline power converters. These actually vary in size. You can either get this white one or like a small black box. It will go through that and then be connected from this into a network switch, and then the network switch goes off and connects into the router. Just give the whole thing a visual inspection. So make sure the leads, these are called RJ45s, and sometimes if they're not clicked in, they don't give that defined click sound. Make sure it's in, it won't come out if it's clicked in. Same on the other side, pull it out, you won't break anything. Connect it back in, make sure it's in. If it doesn't make that click sound, sometimes you'll find the little tab on there is pushed down, and what you can actually do is just bend it up a little bit gently, and it will actually allow you to give it a good click. That will then be connected into one of the ports on the network switch. Again, first of all, is it on? On the back, the IEC connector can sometimes become loose and not be actually connected in properly. Give that a good push in, and harder than you think sometimes because they're quite tight. And then, are the lights on? If it's on, the lights will be lit. And also, when each cable is connected into the switch, you'll get lights flashing on here. If one of those connectors is not flashing, then we know we've got a problem. And if it's the one that's connected into this and then the wireless link, then that's our problem. If that's the case, pull that lead out, connect it back in. Does that resolve it? If not, pull it out, maybe try another port. All of these ports are non-specific, so you can connect it into any one of the 4. Remove the 5th one. If you've got an 8-port switch, you'll either have a 4-port switch or an 8-port switch. Try and ignore, it won't break anything, but ignore the 5th one, and on an 8-port switch, ignore the 9th and potentially 10th. So just use the first 4 on a 4-port switch or the first 8 on an 8-port switch. But anyway, connect it into one of the other ports. Does that resolve it? If it does, then we know there's a port issue. So that port is dead. If it doesn't resolve it and it goes into here, then we know there's another problem. It could be down to a cable failure from here to the wireless link. It could be the wireless link that's failed. It could just be a complete fluke, and actually the rest of the ports on this switch are broken. I suppose a way of testing that would be to take the last and final one out that we know is flashing, plug it into there. Does that flash? Yes or no? We've determined what the problem is. So if we connect that all back in, if this can connect into all ports and we don't get anywhere, then we know it's probably the wireless link. If you come to this and the lights are just off and you've plugged the lead in, the next thing would be to check the fuse in the plug in the IEC. This is a standard IEC kettle lead, so most people have these knocking around. Go and grab another one, put it in, and then there is a fuse on the plug, which you can check to see if that's gone. Of course, if the lights aren't lit on this, then we know there's a problem with the switch or the cable, so that's quite an easy fix. Scenario number 2 is if we don't have a network switch. And actually, sorry, just to rewind a bit, if there is a network problem. You can have all these lit, the wireless link comes into this switch, and then this switch then connects to the router, and that is this cable here. So just give that a visual inspection as well. You know, is that flashing? If so, it means it's connected onto the back of the router. But again, if it's not, then disconnect, connect it into another port. Does that light up again? This router doesn't have any lights on the back of it, but this does. So you'll always be able to see if that connectivity is live. The way cameras get back to the recorder, if they've been sent through a wireless link, is it's all done through the router. The router is kind of the brains of it. So just have a good visual inspection. Is the power lead in? Is our lights lit? Are all the cables connected? Is the cable connected into the router? Is the wireless link still okay outside? Has someone knocked it? Has someone hammered the cable or damaged the cable? Then we've got scenario number 2 where this switch is out of the mix. So what you'll have is basically the switch and this aren't being used. What you'll have is just, this is called an inline PoE injector, power over Ethernet injector. The wireless link will be connected into the ports will be labelled on it. You have PoE port and LAN port. The wireless link again on the outside of the property comes into the room, black cable, should be connected into the PoE port, and then there'll be another cable, normally blue, we tend to use only blue cables, it's connected into the LAN port. It's really important you get this right, because if you connect the LAN port into the PoE port, that sends 24 or 48 volts out, and it could potentially kill your router. It's not going to cause any smoke or anything, it will just fry the ports inside. So just please be very careful that you don't get these the wrong way around. If in doubt, what we sometimes do is take a photo. If you are going to take leads out, take a photo of it before so you know which way they return back in. Again, power. Sometimes if it's under a table, the power leads come dislodged. On this PoE injector and on most of them, there is normally a power light so you can see if it's on. Make sure that's connected. Is the green light on or blue, depending on what the color is? If not, again, fuse, try another lead. And make sure you don't get flashing lights on these, but just make sure everything is connected in and correct. You know, you're not going to have any lights flashing to tell you if it is live. The main thing is this PoE injector live? Is the black cable connected into the PoE port or the cable that goes outside? And is the blue cable or the cable that goes back to the router connected into the LAN? And if in doubt, what we'll always tend to say to people is just give everything a hard reboot. Other issues that can arise are things like the recorder's just had a funny 5 minutes. The way we do that, the way we reboot the recorder is on the back. I mean, ultimately you can just turn off the plug, just pull the plug out, wait 5 seconds, plug it back in. On the back of the recorder, and I will do this in real time, there's a little switch next to the IEC lead. Just kill that, turns it off, give it 5 seconds or so, turn it back on. You won't break anything. After about 3, maybe 4 minutes, this will all turn on. Camera images will turn on in different orders. The cameras connected directly to it tend to come up quicker. The cameras that are sent over wireless links will be a bit slower. So don't be afraid if it takes even up to 5 minutes. So we're going to give that a reboot now. And the same with all of this hardware. Reboot your router, definitely. If we've got wireless links installed, give that a good reboot. 5 seconds, back in again. Again, turn it off at the wall, pull the lead out, however you want to do it. You're not going to break anything. And reboot all of this as well. We'll always say power everything down. It always seems a bit of a cop-out to power things down, but at the end of the day, it is technology and it has been running and it runs constantly. Phones, laptops, other bits of equipment, you reboot. You know, once in a blue moon, you've got to reboot your laptop because it has a funny 5 minutes. Your phone, every now and then, you just have to turn the thing off and on again. Same with all of this. As good as it all is, you just sometimes have to kill the power. So if you phone up with a technical issue from your cameras, one of the first things we'll say to you is have a look to make sure it's all connected, turn everything off and on again. In this case, router, recorder, wireless link, power supplies, network switch, and then the next step is that visual inspection, flashing lights, are cables connected, has anything been knocked? And that's it.